I have been thinking a lot about this question because I think that there are so many ways that we can take it up. We could look at this, right? Zoom. We're on Zoom right now.
Yes.
And Zoom is probably, I had actually, Alex Chang was the first person who introduced me to Zoom. I had never heard of Zoom before. Right? So, Zoom is this technology that no one had really, very few people, aside from Alex, knew about Zoom before the pandemic. And now it's everywhere, and it's sort of the new status quo. We could also look at, this sort of race to put institutions online, or the race to the technological acceleration of developing a vaccine very, very quickly, and all of these, I think, are examples of acceleration, of speeding up, right? I also think that if we're thinking about, sort of thinking through the lens of this conversation that we've been having so far about the ways that algorithms are divisive, they create categories, right? And we think about the acceleration of technology as a kind of algorithmic acceleration in that way. What I think also is coming about is a kind of acceleration of categories of people, right? So a more profound difference, I guess you would say, in terms of the way that real people can live their lives. And I see this in, in this kind of going back to the reCAPTCHA, that you're in or you're out, you're a robot or you're a bot or you're not a bot, right? The in or the out, I think now is becoming, among other things, is becoming between you're an essential worker, or you're like out on the front lines, or you are in a job that allows you to work safely from home. We know that so you can work remotely, you can maintain social distancing, all of this, right? This is a class divide, right? That, like, when we're talking about the difference between people who have jobs, as I am privileged to have, where I can do most of my work remotely through Zoom, and people who have to be out in the street in contact with people and in warehouses and, fulfilling my Amazon orders, or, like this is white collar, blue collar would be another way of putting it. So we could call it remote work and essential work, or we could call it white collar and blue collar if we wanted to put it in more familiar class oriented terms.
Yeah.
Beyond this, and we already know, right, that the pandemic is disproportionately affecting people of color, right? We see the intersections of this kind of class, the acceleration of this classification of labor and classification of people, right? We also see how that acceleration is also racialized, because that's precisely what's happening. And if we want to go a step further, we could also say that the other thing being accelerated here is, unlike the promise of accelerationist thinkers who would say that when we accelerate capitalism, we accelerate capitalism's inconsistencies. And this will bring about the fall of capitalism eventually. We need universal basic income, and I mean, honestly, maybe we do need better welfare, right? I don't think that UBI is the answer for that, but the thinking that accelerating capitalism will mean an end of work, the real thing that's coming out of that acceleration is unemployment, right? So this accelerated technological development and the pandemic and unemployment come together in another acceleration of technological classification, which is the going going from remote work and essential work. We have people who have jobs and people who don't have jobs, right? So there's another divide that is, as with the disproportionate effects of the pandemic, disproportionately racialized. So the unemployment that is this it's in the specter of accelerationist theory, or it is a specter, I should say, in accelerationist theory. This is literalized, right? And I think the irony around this is that that unemployment, even for people such as myself who are privileged to work, right? That unemployment is experienced as a kind of deceleration. So I propose decelerationist aesthetics as a way in which form, like aesthetic form, could gum up the gears of the optimization that we were talking about, capitalist optimization. That's that race to the bottom, the race into unemployment, right? But I also think that, right now it's taken a different turn. It has a different feel. It doesn't feel, it's, I might say that it's a kind of deceleration without the agency of of having a political horizon. I think part of what's happening right now is that we are not seeing a horizon.